as I'm sitting here talking to you, and you know, the Knack have been plagued by weird circumstances, you know?
Yeah.
Just really weird, I mean, things that don't make any sense, like, you know, you have success, and, you know, labels don't know what to do. I mean,
I used to talk to my father about, you know, the band and what was going on, and he would just shake his head and go, these people are crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't sound like business.
No, not at all.
He understood business, you know, but he didn't understand why somebody would cut their nose off to spite their face and not promote something that could make them money if that was their goal. But see, in show business, I've found it's not necessarily only about money. It's about being cool.
Right.
And at least for some people. And if they think they're going to be perceived as not cool, they will cut off their noses to spite their face. And because the Knack got tarred with a brush of they're not cool for some reason, because we were too successful.
Right.
We were too commercial. I mean, I never understood that. They're too commercial. What does that mean?
Right. People go to their concerts.
Yeah, they sell a lot of records. I hate them. You know what? You know what? What is that? It doesn't make any sense. But, oh well.
Yeah, well, you know, I got to ask you about nowadays, because certainly that perception doesn't really exist anymore. And, I think enough time has passed, and, you know, people have forgotten about magazine articles and all that kind of crazy hype back in the day. But now, you know, what's the difference now?
Because it's down to just the music. Kids who like our music, kids on the internet can go and research Kurt Cobain's 10 favorite albums, and one of them is Get the Knack.
Right. So, you know, you're back. There's a renewed interest in the Knack, and you guys are playing shows everywhere. So what about a new record?
No new records, no.
No?
No, Burton's not really enthused about writing pop songs anymore. He's been working on musicals, you know, like classic-type, Broadway-type, musical-type things. And that's what he's been spending his creative energy on, writing musicals. He loves it. And so that's what he's been doing. And without his input, I wrote a lot of the songs alone. Good Girls Don't, I wrote alone.
Right.
A lot of our songs I wrote on my own. But without his input, I don't feel really comfortable making it a Knack record. If I wrote, 10 or 12 songs, I'd probably do a solo record. And, I'm fairly sensitive to that. The Knack is a band.
Right.
And it really does need the input of all the guys. And the songwriting input was always me and Burton. Even though I would write maybe 3/4 of the songs alone, that other quarter was very important.
Right.
Very, very important. Burton and I wrote My Sharona together, and Baby Talks Dirty together, and Can't Put a Price on Love together, and 3/4 of the rest of the songs.
Right.
So if he's not going to have the interest to do it with me, I don't really want to do it, and it's a lot of work. That's the other thing. Making records is a lot of work, and who's going to play our records? See, that's the other thing. I mean, is radio going to get behind a Knack record and play it a lot? I don't think so.
Well, that's the thing. Specialty shows like mine will, but commercial radio in general are kind of only interested in 17-year-old girls.
That's exactly right, and 17-year-old girls aren't interested in 56-year-old men.
But they know the song.
Damn it!
But at least they know the songs.
That's right.
That's true.
That's right. That would be fine. But they've got it. The thing about when we were growing up is music sold music. The reason that those records were huge is because they got played on the radio all the time. My Sharona is a huge record because it gets played on the radio all the time. That's why. If we put out an album, we did. We put out we put out in the late 90s, early 2000s. We put out two new albums. One was called Zoom.
Right.
One was called Normal Is the Next Guy. Zoom, I believe, is the best album the Knack ever released. Song for song, I believe it's the best album. Nobody played it. Nobody played it. And Normal Is the Next Guy, less than nobody played it. So, with that experience, am I going to spend 5 months of my life? And lately, the time of my life has become very precious to me because of my health concerns. Am I going to spend 5 months doing that? And then I have to weigh what is the upside to that. Oh, yeah, I have an album, but I've done those. It's not like I get a big, thrill from just making a record anymore. When I was 17 in Skye and I went to England to record for the first time, it was amazing to hear my voice coming out of the studio speakers. I've heard it for, almost 40 years now.
Right.
It doesn't really give me a great thrill.
And yet playing live, though, does.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love connecting with an audience. I love doing that.
Well, if people want to find out what's happening in your world, they can, is there a place online?
www.knack.com or .theknack.com, either one.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
And you do have some new releases. You have a concert DVD?
Well, we did a live, we've done a couple.
Yeah.
We did one where we created we did it ourselves and created a fictional television show called the Rock and Roll Funhouse. And we put out a DVD of that and a CD, a live CD of that concert. And then 3 years ago, we did an HD TV show called Live from the World Cafe out of Philadelphia.
Sure.
And that DVD came out last year as well. And that's just us in the World Cafe, which is like a big club.
Right.
There's 2 DVDs, sort of more recent.
Right. And there's, of course, tour dates and everything else.
On the website, yes.
Excellent. Well, this has been great talking to you, Doug.
Thank you so much.
Once again, I appreciate it. And we're going to go out with a little Good Girls Don't. And best of luck to you and the rest of the Knack. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay.